Well, welcome back. You glad to be back? I'm glad you came back because I hate talking to myself, but my wife said I'd do it anyways. My wife said she's been praying for you all and praying for me, and she wanted me to pass along her hello. She'll actually be here with me next Sunday morning. She'll be coming with me. We're going to sit through the 11 o'clock service, though I'm not teaching, but we're going to be here. So I'm looking forward to her coming and being here with me. One of the things that I do when I go somewhere, I like to meet people. I'm not one of those that likes to stay in the background, like going out and meeting people and talking to folks. And then I get a sense from the Spirit of a theme that I need to address. And so this is a theme that I think I need to address because I've just kind of heard the theme in conversation. So I need to bring my wife, Tracy, up here. And Tracy, if you'll come on up. I want to kind of reinforce this morning with you for those who have children. Because one of the things, we talk about is how children can negatively affect a marriage, right? And I'm going to show you how it happens. So here's my wife, Tracy. So come over here, Tracy. Now, this is my wife, Tracy. We've been dating, and if you'll just give me your hand. This right here represents a bond. It represents an attachment, okay? And we're going to see tonight and in the coming few weeks that your brain has to bond and attach to something. It's wired by God to do that, and it will attach. So this is our attachment. You can feel it when you have it, right? And you can feel it when you don't. Got it? So this is an attachment. So we get married, and we're going through life, and early in our newlyweds, that's when newlyweds are still in la la land. Reality hadn't set in yet, right? and then we go on the honeymoon. We're having a great time in marriage, and then all of a sudden we get pregnant, and our son Eddie is born. So we're going to bring our son Eddie up. Okay, if you'll stand right here, and if you put your hand here, and so now me and my wonderful bride, we have our son Eddie, and we're going through life raising our son. Got it? Do you see a problem? What's the problem in this family? Eddie? Boy, are you gonna love, dude. They love you, don't they? Yeah. No, think about it. Do you see a problem in this family? We love each other, right? But do you see a problem here? What's the problem? Someone just said me and Tracy aren't connected. That's not actually true. We are connected through our child. Our bond now is through him. She attaches to me through him. So one day, don't go too far off, Eddie. Eddie leaves for school and goes away. And there is no bond. And this is the second highest divorce rate right here, empty nest. It's because people lose the what? They lose the bond, live it through the child, and then years have gone by, they've not connected. And this is the second highest divorce risk right here. The first highest is in the first 4 years of marriage now. The 7-year itch has gone down to 4. And so this is where you're at risk. So I'm going to show you what it needs to look like. So come back over here, Eddie. All right. This is a what? So you stand in front of us, if you will. You may want to go down a little bit since Tracy's kind of short and I am too. So go down on your knees a little bit. Tracy, there you go. Put that shoulder in the hand right there. Now, this is what it looks like, all right? We're connected to our children. We love our kids. We love each other. But this right here is the primary relationship. It is this bond that is not to be broken. This is us. And we love this guy. He's a little tall, so I'm wondering where he actually came from. We need to talk, honey. And so one day, you can go now, he goes off to school. He leaves. And guess what? We are still a what? We still have the bond. We'll make it. Because see, every relationship has to have time together, don't they? You're going to have time together for what? Connection, talking, sex, death in the family. But we also have time what? Apart. She needs time with her friends, doing her things. I need time with my friends, doing my things. But even though you need to have time together, time apart, you never lose the what? because this is what you must value right here. This is what takes you longevity. This is the 50, 60-year plan. All right? Make sense? So for those of you who have children, don't ever let them come between it. Us is the most important, not them. Thank you, Tracy, very much. Let's give her a hand. I remember once I think he was 16 at the time, my son Trey, in anger at me, he said, "You love mommy more than me." And I said, "You're right." Get used to it. One day you'll be leaving. She's here before you. She'll be here after you. And one day you'll thank me for it. Because I made it the priority, not me. And when we're strong, you'll be healthy. If we're not strong, that doesn't mean you'll be healthy. Because you'll be getting negative effect. Okay? Now, tonight's lesson I call CARESS Your Relationship. And I'm going to go back. And this is going to get into that area that we talked about here for a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play for a little bit here. All right, guys, what do I got to do to get my slides up here? Just push on them? Or are you going to put them up there for me? There we go. That's the one I want. All right. Remember I said this morning, the wheel of knowledge? So I know you probably can't see that real well, all right? But I'm going to play with this for just a little bit here. This is the idea of the wheel of knowledge. We said this morning, there's this area, the area you know, and the area you what? And the area you don't know. And what you don't know have two things in common. You know what you know, and you know what you don't know. We kind of looked at that. This morning, right? But there's this larger area out here of the things you don't know that you don't know. These I consider your blind spots. We all have blind spots. It's the areas of things you don't know. Kind of works this way. Can I pick on you? Sir. Your name is? Bill. All right. Let's say Bill comes in to see me, and I'm listening to Bill's story and listening to it going on, and I say, "Hey, Bill, did you know you have an anger problem?" He goes, "I don't have an anger problem." I go, "Well, how do you know?" "I know." "But how do you know?" "I know." See, he only lives within the realm of what he knows because your brain can only operate from what? It knows what it knows, and it knows what it doesn't know. And that's the only thing you can think from. And everything that happens in your life gets processed through what you know. So I say to him, "Hey, Bill, do you know you have an anger problem?" "I don't have an anger problem." "Well, how do you know?" I said, "I know." "But how do you know?" I said, "I know." "Well, Bill, do you know that you do this? You do this and you do this." Things he doesn't know that he doesn't know. He goes, "No, I didn't realize I did those things." I said, "Well, you do. And those things suggest you have an anger problem." "I don't have an anger problem." Well, what Bill doesn't know that he doesn't know is that he does. What you may not know that you know is you got a drinking problem. You may not know that you don't know is that you got a drug problem. You don't know that you don't know you may have sexual addiction. What you don't know that you don't know is you're prideful. What you don't know that you don't know is whatever it is. Because it's blind to you, but others can see it in you. And faithful are the wounds of a friend. And Father wants to speak into the things you don't know. Or David said it this way in Psalm 139 near the end. David acknowledges there's a part of himself he doesn't know that he doesn't know. Because he says, "Search me and know my hiddenmost parts." Even David understood there's a part of himself that he doesn't know that he doesn't know. And he understood that the things that he didn't know that he didn't know can affect him and others. Because see, what you don't realize is the things you don't know can kill you. Literally kill you. September 11th, a lot of people went out to an airport that day to get on an airplane. A lot of people went to work in the World Trade Center and some at the Pentagon. They didn't know something. And by the time they knew something, for some it was already too late. So because your brain only operates from its realm of what? If all you want to do is operate from what you know, I would suggest you're not teachable, and people who are not teachable are immature. I raised my children to be healthy, mature adults. My father couldn't raise me to be one. I was going to raise them to be one, but for me to raise them to be one, I had to become one. And the way I had to become one was become teachable. And when people spoke into me things they saw, rather than write it off like you don't know or make excuses for it, I began to consider a possibility. You see, if you're willing to consider the possibility, that makes you what? Teachable. I'm not saying I'm right, but I'm just asking you to consider the possibility. Bill, I don't know. Bill, what do you do for a living? Retired. What did you do for a living? General contractor. Bill's a general contractor. I don't know much about it, and I know that I don't know much about it. Got it? But I'll bet there's things that he knows that I don't know that I don't know. Did you get that? Because he operates in a realm that's not a part of my realm. I operate in a realm that's not a part of his realm. So there's a realm of knowledge that I have that he don't have. He don't know that he doesn't know. And he operates in things that I don't know that I don't know. That makes sense? And I've come to learn something through my mentors in life. One of them was this. Whenever you and Llewellyn are in conflict, Dr. Lori Gordon used to tell me, you must understand that conflict is nothing more than for you to learn something about Llewellyn you didn't know before. That's all it is. There's something you don't know that you don't know that's going on in her life, and that's why you have conflict. The question is, are you willing to be teachable and learn it? And you only learn it by listening. By listening and understanding. And when I began to change my mindset, it's amazing how much I realized I'm more of a problem than she is. It was amazing how Father used to point out a lot more in my life, and I quit blaming her for a lot more. I started taking responsibility for me. All right? So if you can really embrace that there's things you don't know, and that your partner sees things in you, rather than write them off, and we're going to talk about this next week, what happens in the low brain, how the low brain communicates, it's destructive. Excuse me. Then I become teachable, and I can become a student. Because wise men accept rebuke. Fools don't. Fools don't. And I don't engage fools in their folly. Scripture says don't engage a fool in their folly. Why? The more you engage a fool in their folly, you become a fool. Why would you want to go there? They're not teachable. Just back away. Leave it alone. Well, they think they're right. Okay, so what? Be more mature than that. They want to think they're right. Let them think they're right. So what? I'm not going to lose sleep over that. It's not my issue. My issue is to be loving to them and model Father's heart. That's what my responsibility is. Does that make sense? All right. We're going to get into some things you didn't know today. And because of that, I'm going to share some theology that you haven't considered before. And when I do, it might trigger some of you like, what is this guy talking about? Hang with me. If you could have paradise however you could imagine it, if you could have paradise however you could imagine it, what would it look like? What would it look like? My paradise, I'll tell you what mine is. My paradise is a log cabin in the mountains, four-wheel drive Ford F-150, extended cab pickup truck. I can't afford it, but that's my dream truck. I would have a room in there dedicated to like a museum, to all kinds of military paraphernalia. I'd have a Civil War era musket over the fireplace. It's a variation of the Blue Ridge Mountains because about 300 yards behind the house, there is a cliff which goes down to the Atlantic Ocean, and there's a $2 million yacht. I know what it looks like. It's in Fort Lauderdale. I see it when I drive down that way all the time. And it would be 70 degrees, 4 to 5 mile an hour wind all the time, perfectly landscaped. And I would have books and computers and all kinds of stuff there. And if I could live in that, it would be awesome. And if God would be there with me, it would be more awesome. But let me ask you something. If you could have paradise however you would want it, and you got to manage it, would you take it? Most people say, yeah, I'd do that. If you could have paradise however you'd want it, and you would manage it, and God would be in your paradise with you, would you take it? If you could have paradise the way you imagined it, you would manage it, God would be in your paradise with you, but nobody else is allowed with you. No spouse, no kids, no friends, no parents. But you get all that great stuff that you can dream up. And you get to be with God. Would you take it? Most of you saying no. You're right. You weren't meant to take it. It doesn't make you less holy. Because this was the great dilemma for Adam in Genesis 2:18. Adam was in paradise. There was no pain. And he was not alone. Who was he with? He was with God in paradise. He walks with God in the garden in the cool of the day. He's in paradise. There's no pain. There's only pleasure. All he has known is love. He's with God. He's not alone. And God says something to Adam that he doesn't know that he doesn't know. Adam, it is not good that you should be. But he's not alone. Who's he with? How can you be alone and with God at the same time? And therein lies Adam's dilemma. He's in a perfect environment. He's got an exalted position. He's at the top of the food chain. And he's not alone. He's with God. And God says it's not good that you should be alone. Adam didn't know that he didn't know he was alone because God told him he was alone. Now he knows that he knows he's alone, but he doesn't know what it means. So God gives him an assignment, verses 19 and 20. Go name the animals. And as Adam's going through the process of naming the animals, dog. Another one, doggus. Cat. Caddis. Oh, look at there. Eagle. Another one, eagleless. Roach. I don't think he did that. As he's going through the process of naming the animals, he comes to realization that there is not another one, what? Like him. What do you think Adam felt the moment he realized there was not another one like him? Alone. And this is in paradise before sin. And Adam feels the pain of aloneness in the garden before Eve shows up. Why is it important for Adam to experience the pain of aloneness in the garden, imperfection, before Eve shows up? I'll give it to you for the sake of time. It is because Adam would not have appreciated the gift of relationship with another person had he not felt that pain before. Because if she just showed up and he not felt the pain of aloneness, what is he going to do? Go from perfect love to more perfect love? He doesn't understand the quality of this relationship. But he felt pain. He felt something was wrong. He sensed it in his soul. And when he sees God bringing her, by the way, if you're single here, this is real important. The scripture says that after his surgery, he saw two things. We think he saw Eve. He didn't say that. The scripture says he saw God bringing Eve, and that's important. Here's why. Because when God said he's going to do something, he's going to do it. Problem is, whenever we feel alone, we go help him out. See, at this point in time in history, Adam trusts God to deal with all of his needs in his life. And when God said, I'm going to do something for you, even though he feels this pain of aloneness, he's trusting God to do whatever he's going to do. And when he sees Eve coming, the scripture in the Hebrew lets us know what it was like emotionally for him. It was a sense of, wow, man, this is bone of my bones. Geez, flesh of my flesh. I'm going to call her, whoa, man. My brothers and sisters, the remedy for human aloneness is intimacy, bonding, attachment, if you want a more clinical word. How many people here have ever felt alone before? You notice it didn't say it is not good for man to be single, because you can be married and very much alone. Know us. Just you and them, and miles apart emotionally. Alone. And God said it is not good for you to live that way. I made you to not need me only. I made you to need me and others. Think the great commandment. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and your neighbor, others as yourself. There's your three relationships. Now Adam's in perfect relationship to God. He's in perfect relationship to another, and he's in perfect relationship to himself. The remedy to human aloneness is intimacy. And of course, you know what happens in chapter 3, verse 6. She eats of the fruit. Excuse me. The moment she eats of the fruit, I'm getting over a cold from way back a month ago. My doctor said the cough is going to linger a little bit. So the remedy, hang on, my brain. Genesis 3, verse 6. She eats of the fruit. She broke a relationship. How do you know when a relationship is broken? It's real simple. You can feel it. You can sense the distance. You can sense when something's not right. God put that in us to let us know if things are right or not right. She felt the break. God felt the break. Guess who else felt it? Adam did. He feels the same pain of aloneness he did before she showed up. He doesn't like that. If you're taking notes, write down this phrase. Pain pursues pleasure. Pain pursues pleasure. All right? And this is important, because your brain is wired to avoid pain and pursue pleasure. And you will do whatever it takes to avoid pain and pursue pleasure. Adam is back in pain again. He feels the aloneness he felt before. He doesn't want that feeling. He wants the connection back that he felt with her. And in his mind, I'll eat the fruit and reconnect. What he failed to understand is once you did that, you disconnected from the primary relationship of your life, which is with God himself, the Father. He stepped into sin as well. You see, man was created needy. In the West, we like to think that you can do it yourself, self-reliance. But man was not created self-reliant. Man was actually created dependent. Dependent. You're never meant to live life on your own. You're always meant to live life with God and others as yourself. And so, whenever we have needs. Now, what are our needs? We have physical needs, food, air, water, shelter. And I'm going to submit to you that the need to bond and attach to another person isn't just emotional, it is biological, because all your emotions are biological. The little neurochemical process over here in the limbic system of the brain. Next week when you come, I will show you. You know the verse in Ephesians 4, in your anger don't sin? I will show you what your brain looks like if you're being angry and sinning, and I'll show you what your brain looks like if you're being angry and not sinning. You can see the difference in a PET scan. There's a biology to the scriptures. Laughter does good like a medicine. That's not just an Old Testament verse. That's true neurochemically. The more you laugh, the more you increase serotonin in your brain. Guess what serotonin fights off? Depression. Because depression is your brain not producing serotonin, so most antidepressants are increasing serotonin for you. We know through brain research of children who've never bonded or attached, the children who've never bonded or attached in deep, meaningful ways, in very severe cases, their brains do not develop well, as opposed to kids that do bond and attach. And in the first 6 years of life, a child, boy and girl, must emotionally attach to a mother and a father. And the failure to attach in a healthy way in the first 6 years of life to a mother and a father sets that child up for problems in intimate relationships as adults. 89% of men in prison have one thing in common: never attached to a male, a father. 79% of girls who get pregnant out of wedlock, one thing in common: never bonded to a dad. They're still looking for it. And all of that sexual stuff, is there a need to attach to a daddy? And these boys will take it because they're looking for a daddy to teach them how to be a man, but there's no daddy teaching them how to be a man, so they think to be a man, they got to conquer sexually. Pain does what? It pursues pleasure. Now, let me help you understand that in terms of needs. Your name is? Can I borrow you for a minute? You don't have to get up. You can just stay right there, John. Let's say John hasn't eaten in about 4 days. That would be a need for appetite. If the need for appetite is not met, John, your brain is going to send a signal through your body. We call it a hunger pain. You will have pain because all pain produces symptoms. So he'll have the symptoms of hunger. Are you with me so far? He'll cramping, diarrhea, whatever it is, dehydration. His brain is sending a signal: gotta eat, gotta eat, gotta eat. All right? So all pain produces symptoms. He has the symptoms of hunger, the need for appetite not being met. Well, let's say that I give John a bunch of hamburgers in order to satisfy the need for appetite. So here's a question. If he eats the hamburgers in order to satisfy the need for appetite, would it work? And for the sake of time, the answer is actually yes, it will. Here's the kind of 3,000-foot view. John, as you eat the hamburgers to meet the need for appetite, your brain goes, "Ha! You're eating something." And in that moment, the brain releases a neurochemical called dopamine. Say that with me, dopamine. Remember dopamine. Dopamine is a pleasurable sensation. He will actually have a mood shift into pleasure. His stomach fills up. He's no longer hungry. The need for appetite has been satisfied. He moved out of pain into what? Met the need. I'm going to change it up on you, John. I'm not going to give you hamburgers. Let's say I give him 4 boxes of decon rat poison in order to satisfy the need for appetite. So here's the question. If he eats the 4 boxes of decon rat poison, assuming he likes the taste, of course, will eating the rat poison satisfy the need for appetite? Yes. Some of you are going, yes. Some of you are like, I don't know. The answer is yes, it actually will. Because he begins to eat the rat poison, the brain goes, "You're eating something." The brain's going to release what? The brain releases dopamine either way. He creates a mood shift into pleasure. His stomach fills up. He's no longer what? Pain pursues pleasure. Rat poison will actually meet the need for appetite too. Except though, John, your brain's gonna come back to you and go, hey, what did you eat? Because whatever you ate, though it satisfied my need for appetite, whatever you did eat is now caused me more what? Pain does what? Pursues pleasure. So you go back to your source of pleasure and eat more rat poison. Because see, my brothers and sisters, negative attention is still better than no attention. Bad love is still better than what? And if you won't give me attention, Daddy, I'll make life miserable for you to get attention. See, the thing about dopamine is value free. It has no value to it. You will get dopamine doing unhealthy things just as much as you will healthy things. Did you get that? You get it, because it has no, whatever you do to pursue pleasure, you release dopamine. The problem with dopamine is dopamine creates focus. And the more you keep going to rat poison to satisfy the need, to satisfy the pain, because it does produce a sense of pleasure, the more you keep going to the rat poison, eat it, your brain goes, I want more rat poison. That's how addictions start. Because addictions ultimately are a way to go into pleasure to avoid pain. Pain from what? The pain of unmet needs. So if we can, real quickly, go back to the slides up there. And I need to go to the next one if I can just go to that. Okay, mine's not working, guys. Well, I got it listed here. Can we go to, somebody can help me go to the CARESS slide? Well, there'll be a list coming up here in a minute. I don't know what I've done, but it says resume slideshow. What does that mean? Hey, I just haven't noticed a sign at the top that says resume slideshow. That I didn't know I stopped it. All right, right here. Just take my word for this. I have a handout. Actually, thinking about it, I should have gave it to you. All of those are mentioned in Scripture. New Testament. 2 Corinthians 1, 3, and 4. The God of comfort, the Father, and the Father of mercy, who comforts me in my trials so I can comfort you in your trials. Galatians 6:2 has to do with support. Romans 12:15 has to do with comforting people. All of those are mentioned in Scripture. All of these are biologically hardwired into you when you're born, and they'll be with you till you die. They must be met. They will be met one way or another, because all needs must be met. And if needs are not met, long-term in severe cases, things die. You don't have food, air, water, shelter, you're going to die. Same thing, though. If you're not meeting these needs in a relationship, your relationship will die. Your relationship to your kids will die. And dads, let me tell you something. This is really important for us. Your kids need comfort. Telling a little boy to suck it up and get over it and be a man, he's not a man. He's 4 years old. How can a 4-year-old brain be an adult male brain? It isn't. Think of it this way. Little girl, little boy, both the 4 years old, they fall down and skin their knees. They're both crying. They need physically, back teen, that kind of stuff. But what's the caress need? They need attention and comfort. Attention means taking thought of another, focusing on them. So I focus on her. She's bonding now. Her brain is attaching. And we pick her up to comfort her. She is bonding. She knows how to bond. Because it's given to her. See, the thing about those needs are, you can't meet them by yourself. They must be met in relationship. They come from others. And God intends to meet them, but he does it through the body. But what do we tell this little boy? That didn't hurt. He's crying. Suck it up. Get over it. What you've taught him is your need for comfort and your need for attention aren't allowed to be met. And if they are, you're weak. And you wonder why we men, we're the leading cause for divorce today? You know there's a trend right now in the mental health community is given a name for it. It's called walkaway wife syndrome. 3/4 of all divorces are initiated by women. See, 60 years ago, women would stay in loveless marriages. They're not anymore. They're walking. I'm not proud of it, but I'm telling you it's true. Guys, if you get anything, your wife is the barometer for the health of the marriage, whether it's us, not us. We're kind of brain dead. But what happens is when they're trying to connect, it comes across as nagging. You get that? We hear it as nagging. So let me help you understand this slide a little bit more. All right? Pain pursues what? Pleasure. Now, if my needs are met, here's your second phrase for those who's taking notes. Write this down. Love is experienced when needs are met. We experience love when our needs are met. Consequently, if my needs are not met, I will feel unloved. It's real simple. I think sometimes pastors and counselors have made relationships much more difficult than they need to be. I've come to realize Father made it pretty simple. If faith is like a child, maybe relationships should be too. He modeled it for us. Okay, so let me come over here and pull up another slide for you. Go ahead and put that one up there, guys. I'm going to draw this slide up here. I am arguing that all of us have a fallen nature, but at our core, we are all needy. Get that? At our core, we're all needy. That's what it says here. And because we're fallen, we have problem behaviors, don't we? Ladies, this is important. This is important. Nagging is a sin. A contentious woman is like a slow dripping faucet. It's not my words, it comes right out of the scriptures. And when you're a slow dripping faucet nagging, your husbands complain about your nagging. And here's why they complain. Most people don't get this, but I figured it out. And this is the truth. The reasons your husband complain about your nagging is because as the priests of the home, they recognize that your nagging is a part of your fallenness and that you're in sin, and sin blocks relationship. So they're just complaining to get you back in relationship to God. They care about you spiritually. I don't think anybody's buying that one. Here's how it works. Luella's nagging. Father says, and I'm complaining. And Father says, Rick, what are you doing? I'm sick and tired of Luella's nagging. I would be too, son, if I were you, but it's not what I asked. I said, what are you doing? I'm trying to get her to stop. I thought it was my job to convict her of sin. Well, I'm just trying to help you out then. He would say, I don't need your help. And in my frustration, I would say, fine, you convict her. But what do you want me to do? Because I'm tired of it. Listen, church family, how I word this. These were breakthroughs for me when Father started to reveal these things to me. Rick, what you fail to understand is this. Underneath her fallen behavior of nagging is the pain from an unmet need for attention from you. Now, my hunch is, if you spent less time complaining and more time meeting you'd see that go away. Meet the need. See, my brothers and sisters, fallen behavior doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's somebody trying to get their needs met. And she's trying to get attention, so it comes across as nagging. I want Luella to listen to me, but she's not listening to me. Because when she doesn't listen to me, I don't feel respected. So I talk louder. Why am I talking louder? Listen to how I word this. Because in my brain, if I talk louder, she'll meet my needs for respect. And listen to how I word this. And the anticipation that she'll respect me by talking louder is far more pleasurable than admitting that she doesn't respect me, which is far more what? Painful. So I'd rather talk louder, not recognizing that is not going to get my needs met. It gets me more what I don't want. It's rat poison. We all do it. At the expense of who? Us. Needs must be met. They will be met. Guaranteed. And let me say something. If you're not meeting that list of needs that I had up there a minute ago, I'm going to put those back up. You'll stick those back up there for me. If you're not meeting these needs, I'm going to tell you something. Satan will. Guaranteed, Satan will. Because if I'm not meeting those needs, then we're moving into pain, not pleasure. Relationships are not stagnant. They're dynamic. You're either moving towards or you're moving away. When you were dating, you were intentional. You kept moving towards. And then when people get married or long term, they start drifting. Why? Because they're not intentional like they were when they were dating anymore. And so now, Luella doesn't feel like I give her attention. She doesn't feel appreciated. She doesn't feel respected. I don't feel respected. I'm not getting attention. And there's a lie that you ladies have bought into. Well, I don't feel like it, so I ain't going to do it. Go ahead. Then that means the need for affection goes unmet. And whenever needs are not met, there is pain. And Satan will meet your needs too. See, if Luella and I are drifting apart because we're not meeting each other's needs, because I'm going to get my needs met my way, and she's going to get her needs met, and I'm not going to meet your needs until you meet my needs, none of that's about us, is it? All that destroys us. And one day I'm at work, the water cooler, and Tracy walks up. She says, hey, Rick, how you doing? Nah, not good, Tracy. What's wrong? And I start telling her about what's going on in my marriage. And she's giving me attention. She's listening to me. And she starts comforting me. Wow, your wife really doesn't understand you. No, she doesn't, does she? But you do. Oh, yeah, my marriage is the same way. And as I'm listening, comforting her, and she's comforting me, and we're giving each other attention, what's happening? A bond is developing. So whenever you feel alone, you better guard your heart, because Satan will meet your needs too. But he will bring you rat poison. But it will satisfy in the moment, because the scripture says there is pleasure in sin for a season. But don't fool yourself. There's pleasure in it. That's why people go to it. We're wired to avoid pain and pursue pleasure. Remember, all of us were created in pleasure. Sin came in and gave us pain. It's like all of our brains are trying to go back to the Garden of Eden, and you can't. The Father gave us a path to walk. And if you walk that path, excuse me, if you walk that path, you'll probably spend more time in pleasure and less time in pain. A greater sense of usness. Is any of this making sense to y'all? It really isn't that difficult. Meet the needs. And a lot of us men walked into adult life with the philosophy from the other generation. Suck it up. Get over it. Basically, the message is your needs don't get met. But what does a real man look like? Look at Jesus. Look at Jesus. Because he was the epitome of masculinity. And because he was so secure in who he was, so secure in who he was as a man, he didn't have to be controlling. He didn't have to be arrogant. Why? He was secure in who he was, so he could give. He could give. How brave are you, brother? Pretty brave? Come up here for a minute. You don't have to. You have free to say no. Come on up. I told him he's brave. Let's say you all walk into a room. What's your name?
Mike.
Mike. Hey, I'm taller than somebody. Or about, I think, how tall are you?
I don't know.
You don't know?
5'8", maybe.
I'm 5'8". All right, so we're equal. Well, let's say y'all walk into a room, right? And you saw us like this. What would y'all think? We know. We know what you think, right? He's like, get away from me, dude. I'm going to give you affirmation for a minute. In the upper room, there are two men just like that. Jesus and John, the disciple. John had his head right here, and nobody thought a thing about it. Those two men were so secure in their masculinity, they could be in an intimate bonded position and still be okay as men. What we've told little boys today is, if you do that, there's something wrong with you. And you wonder why men tend to bond now only through sex. It's they don't know how to be intimate anymore. Because they're raised by a Western culture that says, suck it up, get over it. Men don't do that. Look at Jesus. The majority of the time, the guy is nurturing and tender. He's caring, he's touching. He's always meeting the needs. But don't you ever, ever, ever assume that that nurturing, tender side of Jesus was weakness. Because the moment he needed to call on that strength, it was there, was it not? To the church crowd, to Pilate, to Herod, it was there. It was there. Strong, but tender. Powerful and authentic, but nurturing. Because that's how real men are. Thank you, brother. To get that, if we're all created with needs, the question is, did Jesus have any needs? Was Jesus needing attention and comfort and appreciation and all those things? I submit to you he did. Here's my evidence. Because if we're going to say that, we got to find evidence in Scripture. Jesus comes down to be baptized. John is baptizing people. So there's people all around. And Jesus shows up. And Jesus gets baptized by John. And when we know that when Jesus comes up out of the water, a dove descends and a voice breaks silence and says what? This is my beloved son, who are well pleased. You just quoted from the King James book of Matthew. Be careful when you do that. Go to the parallel passages in Luke and Mark. You do not see the word this. You see the word thou, which is our word what? You. We saw baptism tonight. I bet if we brought that granddaddy up here, and I said, when you saw your son get baptized, what went on inside of your heart? You see, daddy saw Jesus get his son baptized, and his heart welled up with pride for his son. And he says, man, I love you. I am so proud of you. So proud of you. You are my beloved son. I'm so proud of you. Are not those words of appreciation, words of approval, words of acceptance? Do you imagine what Jesus felt when he heard his father say those words over him? Ah! I can take on the world. I can take on the world. By the way, he went right from there into the wilderness for 40 days, did he not? Don't assume it was easy for him, because it was. There was no reason for the angels to come minister to him as long as they did. It was tough. What sustained him in there, I submit to you, wasn't just his Godhead. In his humanity, he remembered the words of his dad. How many of you are still looking for those words from your father? Ah, you're awesome. Proud of you. I'll never hear those words from my father. When I watched him die, I stood by his bed in Kenneth Stone Hospital, Marietta, Georgia. First thing I thought was, did I matter? And I swore then and there that my kids will never have to ask that question. You'll never have to ask that question. You ask me, did my dad love me? I will tell you yes. Ask me how I know. I don't. I never felt it from the man. But on my deathbed, I want you to ask my children, did your dad love you? They'll tell you yes. But I want you to ask them this question: how do you know? And I want them to be able to say, he couldn't help but know. He always felt it from him. Always. You do that by speaking into their life, meeting needs. Because love is experienced when we meet needs. May it be. May it be. We turn this around and quit focusing on the fallen behavior, but meet the what? Needs.